these 4 beautiful chimes hanging in my bedroom, and last night this one fell. So I figured it wanted to be heard. And each one of these chimes represents an element. And this particular chime is attuned to the element of fire. It's beautiful, isn't it? That's kind of how this day has felt for me today. Just this really gentle flow, this really gentle ease. And I actually thought I was going to do something different today, but I realized that there has been some little subtle messages like this chime falling and a book coming to mind and just falling open to that right page. And I thought, you know, I need to listen to the signs. I need to listen to the messages. And it's like I talked about yesterday about, you know, not trying to control what the canvas wants to be, but instead, you know, listening to the canvas, you know, listening to whatever I'm to share. And yeah, it's just kind of one of those days. It's such a beautiful day. I drove close to Lake Ontario today and sat in my car and just looked at the lake and watched the waves, you know, roll in and wave out, and watching the birds. It was just so incredible. So what I'm about to do, I'm going to read to you a little passage from The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but anyways, Coelho. And that might not be resonating with you. But for whatever reason, and I don't question, this book came to mind. And when I opened it, it seemed like the perfect passage. And I'm not really, like, when I was a kid in school, I was never the kid that read aloud. So it's strange that I want to read aloud to you. This might be something that you would prefer to watch later in the evening before going to bed. I don't know. I'm going to leave that up to you. I'm just going to trust. I think this is so amazing because it's really just trusting. And even the days, you know, the days are sort of blending together. It doesn't matter if it's Monday or Sunday or Saturday or Friday, you know, because we don't have those markers in the week, and everything is just kind of blending, and it's not like, you know, I have to be anywhere. Everything is choice, you know, like, do I choose to wake up at a certain time in the morning? Do I choose to eat at a certain time in the day? It's really, really intriguing. So this little boy is speaking to the wind. And this is the beginning of their conversation. You can't be the wind said. We're two very different things. That's not true, the boy said. I learned the alchemist's secrets in my travels. I have inside me the winds, the deserts, the oceans, the stars, and everything created in the universe. We were all made by the same hand, and we have the same soul. I want to be like you, able to reach every corner of the world, cross the seas, blow away the sands that cover my treasure, and carry the voice of the woman I love. I heard what you were talking about the other day with the alchemist, the wind said. He said that everything has its own personal legend, but people cannot turn themselves into the wind. Just teach me to be the wind for a few moments, the boy said. So you and I can talk about the limitless possibilities of people and the winds. The wind's curiosity was aroused, something that had never happened before. It wanted to talk about those things, but it didn't know how to turn a man into the wind. And look how many things the wind already knew how to do. It created deserts, sank ships, felled entire forests, and blew through cities filled with music and strange noises. It felt like it had no limits, yet here was a boy saying that there were other things the wind should be able to do. This is what we call love, the boy said, seeing that the wind was close to granting what he requested. When you are loved, you can do anything in creation. When you are loved, there's no need at all to understand what's happening, because everything happens within you. And even men can turn themselves into the wind, as long as the wind helps, of course. The wind was proud of being, and it was becoming irritable with what the boy was saying. It commenced to blow harder, raising the desert sands. But finally, it had recognized that, even making its way around the world, it didn't know how to turn a man into the wind. And it knew nothing about love. In my travels around the world, I've often seen people speaking of love and looking towards the heavens. The wind said, furious at having to acknowledge its own limitations. Maybe it's better to ask heaven. Well then, help me do that, the boy said. Fill this place with a sandstorm so strong that it blots out the sun. Then I can look to heaven without blinding myself. So the wind blew with all of its strength, and the sky was filled with sand. The sun was turned into a golden disk. At the camp, it was difficult to see anything. The men of the desert were already familiar with that wind. They called it the Suma, and it was worse than a storm at sea. Their horses cried out, and all their weapons were filled with sand. On the heights, one of the commanders turned to the chief and said, "Maybe we'd better end this." They could hardly see the boy. Their faces were covered with blue cloths, and their eyes showed fear. "Let's stop this," another commander said. "I want to see the greatness of Allah," the chief said with respect. "I want to see how a man turns himself into the wind." But he made a mental note of the names of the two men who had expressed their fear. As soon as the wind stopped, he was going to remove them from their commands, because true men of the desert are not afraid. "The wind told me that you know about love," the boy said to the sun. "If you know about love, you must also know about the soul of the world, because it's made of love. From where I am," the sun said, "I can see the soul of the world. It communicates with my soul. And together, we cause the plants to grow and the sheep to seek out shade. From where I am, and I'm a long way from the earth, I learned how to love. I know that if I came even a little bit closer to the earth, everything there would die, and the soul of the world would no longer exist. So we contemplate each other, and we want each other, and I give it life and warmth, and it gives me a reason for living." "So you know about love," the boy said. And I know the soul of the world because we have talked at great length to each other during this endless trip through the universe. It tells me that its greatest problem is that up until now, only the minerals and the vegetables understand that all things are one. That there's no need for iron to be the same as copper, or copper the same as gold. Each performs its own exact function as a unique being, and everything would be a symphony of peace if the hand that wrote all this had stopped on the 5th day of creation. But there was a 6th day, the sun went on. You are wise because you observe everything from a distance, the boy said. But you know nothing about love. If there hadn't been a 6th day, man would not exist. Copper would always be just copper, and lead just lead. It's true that everything has its personal legend, but one day that personal legend will be realized. So each thing has to transform itself into something better, and to acquire a new personal legend until someday the soul of the world becomes one thing only. The sun thought about that and decided to shine more brightly. The wind, which was enjoying the conversation, started to blow with greater force so that the sun would not blind the boy. This is why alchemy exists, the boy said, so that everyone will search for his treasure, find it, and then want to be better than he was in his former life. Lead will play its role until the world has no further need for lead. And then lead will have to turn itself into gold. That's what alchemists do. They show that when we strive to become better than we are, everything around us becomes better too. Well, why did you say that I don't know about love? The sun asked the boy. Because it's not love to be static like the desert, nor is it love to roam the world like the wind. And it's not love to see everything from a distance like you do. Love is the force that transforms and improves the soul of the world. When I first reached through to it, I thought the soul of the world was perfect. But later, I could see that it was like other aspects of creation. It had its own passions and wars. It is we who nourish the soul of the world. The world we live in will be better or worse, depending on whether we become better or worse. And that's where the power of love comes in. Because when we love, we always strive to become better than we are. So what do you want of me? The sun asked. I want you to help me turn myself into the wind, the boy answered. Nature knows me as the wisest being in creation, the sun said. But I don't know how to turn you into the wind. Then whom shall I ask? The sun thought for a minute. The wind was listening closely and wanted to tell every corner of the world that the sun's wisdom had its limitations, that it was unable to deal with this boy who spoke the language of the world. Speak to the hand that wrote all, said the sun. The wind screamed with delight and blew harder than ever, The tents were being blown from their ties to the earth, and the animals were being freed from their tethers. On the cliff, the men clenched at each other as they sought to keep from being blown away. The boy turned to the hand that wrote all. As he did so, he sensed that the universe had fallen silent, and he decided not to speak. A current of love rushed from his heart, and the boy began to pray. It was a prayer that he had never said before, because it was a prayer without words or pleas. His prayer didn't give thanks for his sheep having found new pastures. It didn't ask that the boy be able to sell more crystal. And it didn't beseech that the woman he had met continue to await his return. In the silence, the boy understood that the desert, the wind, and the sun were also trying to understand the signs written by the hand, and were seeking to follow their paths and to understand what had been written on the single emerald. He saw the omens were scattered throughout the earth and in space, and that there was no reason or significance attached to their appearance. He could see that not the deserts, nor the winds, nor the sun, nor people knew why they had been created, but that the hand had a reason for all of this, and that only the hand could perform miracles, or transform the sea into a desert, or the man into the wind, because only the hand understood that it is the larger design that had moved the universe to the point at which 6 days of creation had evolved into a master work. The boy reached through to the soul of the world and saw that it was part of the soul of God. And he saw that the soul of God was his own soul, and that he, a boy, could perform miracles. You can perform miracles. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you find peace and be at ease. Until the next time, thank you.